Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 90. Jimmy, stop making noise. What are you doing? You right?
I just found these drawers in my desk. And I was just thinking, fuck, they make good rack drawers.
We're recording.
Sorry. That's okay.
Episode 9. Good start. Episode 92 of Muscle Asylum Radio. Today, we're all wearing hats. We are joined by Jimmy, who just introduced himself, basically. Chris Ethos Thomas, and Australia's newest IFBB Pro. Let's see if I can do this first go. Jake Nikolopoulos.
Oh, you got the pool? No, not the pool. Just Poulos. Nikolopoulos.
Nikolopoulos.
It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
What's happening, boys?
Just Jake.
Big Jake. I reckon we're going to get taken off YouTube because of that intro. But anyway, we're going the hat backwards now, are we? All right, let's do this.
Yeah, because I'm trying to see shadows.
Yeah, no, you're way too pretty to have shadow over your face, mate, so you've got to turn it around.
Jake.
And my head's
Jake,
too fat to do that.
Yeah, Jake, do you know why we got our hats on? Because we didn't want Mark to have his hat on by himself.
I'm Ruley Winkler now.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. Why have we got hats on, Jimmy?
Because we didn't want you to have a hat on by yourself. Because you were telling us about your fat deposit on your head that you got to get cut out.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the only man in this. You're the 100%. He's the only man in Australia to get liposuction on his head next week. It's not even a joke.
I was telling the boys, I've got to get surgery on my arm. I've got a lipoma on my shoulder, underneath my shoulder. I don't know if you can see that lump there.
Almost looks like you got a side delt now. Hang on.
Oh wow. Anyway, and I do have another one on my forehead.
Mate, leave it there, Mark. Can you get one on the other side?
He tried that. They disqualified him.
Let's kick things off. Jakey, look, we're going to quickly talk to Chris and Jimmy to see how their weeks have been, and then we'll get to you and spend all our time with you. Jimmy, what did you get up to on the weekend?
I hung out with you, so it was a pretty boring weekend. We went to the escape room in Parramatta on Saturday night. It was interesting. It was fun. It was something different. Those that don't know what an escape room is, they basically blindfold you, walk you in, handcuff you to the wall, and say you've got an hour to get out. You've got to find a bunch of clues. There was a group of us. Connor went, Chris, and all our significant others, and it was all right. We got out too, so it was good. It was good fun.
Do that.
That is good. Sorry, mate.
So who actually did all the thinking? Who was the escape artist?
It was actually everyone was involved. Everyone was involved, so it was good.
Yeah,
it was okay. Yeah,
good shared
Mark,
effort, teamwork.
Did your lymphoma get involved as well?
There was a lipoma, not a lymphoma. Thank you very much.
Lipoma.
We can name him. We can name him by the end of this episode. He's getting cut out on Thursday, so I'll send him to you, and you can babysit him for a while. Christopher, how was your week, mate?
Very good. Busy week. Good fun. Still just caught up after Arnold's weekend. Bit of catch-up work and stuff. So it was a rewarding week. And then did a little bit of work with the coast on Friday out at Empire. And then, pretty much stayed at the coast for the weekend. It was good. Weather cleared up yesterday and was good today. Came back from the coast around lunch today and a little bit of work in the gym this afternoon, a few clients tonight, and now look forward to doing the show.
How's your PT business going? You only started PT not long ago. How's that kicking off for you?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I only want to do it part-time, obviously, so I set myself 10 positions to just in the mornings only, a couple of mornings a week, and I've already got to that, so I've just kind of capped it at the moment. And I'm not saying I'm not interested in doing that, but I don't want to overdo it. I did PT years ago, and I didn't really enjoy it, I'll be honest, and I'm enjoying it the way I'm doing it now. I've got some good clients there, and it's actually a good World Gym Brisbane, man. It's a factory. It's a massive gym. I love training out of there. I love working out of there. It's cool. So at the moment, I'm loving it. So yeah.
You're probably able to pick your clients too, Chris, so you don't have anything that's really draining your life. You can just put your energy into things that you want, right?
It's funny how life changes, man. Like stuff like I do have a few options nowadays, and I did take my time a little bit with it, man. I started off just doing 3 sessions a week, one fella, and pretty much there's only 3 or 4 people now taking those concessions. So I'm really dealing with a very limited amount of people as well. And
that's good.
They go hard, man. All of them. They go hard. They're reliable. They're good people, and it's enjoyable, man. So it allows me to do.
That's good. It's good that you can say that. I remember even when I was doing the PTing and stuff as well. It's like, man, I don't think people realise how draining. Like I come from a background of trade, so but people don't realise how draining PTing can actually be in managing so many different personalities.
It's true. I didn't enjoy it, man. Back 2010, 11, I think I stopped doing it actually one-on-one in the gym and just went straight to just the consultant teaching stuff. And I really, by the end of it, just did not want to. I didn't want to look at it again. So it took me a while to sort of get my head around and go, I'm going to give this another go and do it the way I want to do it. And it's going nice. So,
well, that's the main thing, isn't it? You do it the way you want to do it.
Exactly right, bro. Yeah.
Jimmy will be the first to tell you that he's the hardest working PT in the country at the moment. Doing about 70 hours a week.
Yeah, he does 150 sessions a week, doesn't he?
No, you say enough for me. Say enough for me. I'm scared.
What the fuck did he just say? Did he just cut? Did he just miss?
Just early morning. It's okay. I'm not complaining. Mark, you complain enough for me.
No idea what he's on
Did
about.
my connection lose?
Your connection's rubbish. That's the Central Coast for you.
Can we talk about Jake?
Let's talk about Jake. Jake, newest IFBB Pro. Has it sunk in yet?
Yeah, it has now. Yeah, it's just another normal day, everyday Jake, back to work, back to reality, back to people walking into the office at work and not knowing who I am, so it's good.
Tell us a little bit about the day and your experience on the day. How did it feel coming along with the win? Like, were you confident in thinking that after seeing the lineups, maybe on social media or that the night before the finals, that you were a good chance of winning your pro card?
No, never. No, never, and I've never really thought that going into a show, only because, as you guys all know, bodybuilding, even Ross Maloney, a guy that I came second with the Vicks, if he was to really dial it in and make some changes, he would have been a threat. So everybody was considered a threat to me, depending on how they looked on the day. But I suppose the whole thing was nerve-wracking. Like as usual, like getting in front of an Australian crowd, I think is almost worse than getting on stage overseas when I've competed at the Worlds or at the Universe or anything, because it's the expectation, I think, is a lot higher. The Aussie guys haven't really seen me here on a big stage before, so there was a lot of pressure on me going into it. But no, not for 1 second did I think that, even though I knew most of the lineup, obviously we didn't know whether there was going to be any, Q8 guys or anyone else from any other countries, but that was in the back of my mind too. So I knew that I had to go into this show and try to be my absolute best, because literally had no idea. Like I know I was even messaging other people just trying to find out, have you heard of anyone from overseas or anything coming over? So I got no idea. But to be honest, I didn't waste too much energy doing that, because all the shows that I used to do overseas, man, it could be, take your pick. It was a lucky dip pretty much of these guys that would rock up to those shows. So I just prepared for it mentally like any other show that I've done. Anyone can be there. They can be bigger. They can be better. They're more ripped or whatever. So I just tried to stay calm and just bring my best. But I definitely didn't think that I was going to be an easy win, or even if I was going to win.
Do you think you brought your overall best package on the day? Like, were you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I was heavier than I've been. Look, I think, could you sit there and criticise and say, it could be a little bit dry here or harder there, but I think for the time that I had, for 12 months between last year and this year, like I only weighed in at 98.6 kilos last year. I was 106.5 this year. So I think in the time that I had, the package that I brought in terms of fullness, size and condition, I'm pretty fucking happy with what I did in 12 months with Aaron.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying to you, you could sit there and criticise and go, it could be drier, it could be harder, this and that. But I think the package that I brought with because I knew that I needed to put the muscle on. That was one of the biggest things. I needed to get back to where I was muscle-wise, because if I'm not full on stage, I just look shitty. And I've learned my lesson in the past that I need to have that muscle there. So I think having that muscle back and bringing a condition that I thought was probably the best condition I've ever brought to date by far. Like I've had a look at all my other photos, compared them all side by side. my glutes, my hamstrings, the side of my quads when I was hitting side chest, side triceps, that was by far the hardest and leanest those areas have ever been. And with the added size, so no, I'm more than happy with how I looked. Like I said, for the time that I had, I couldn't have really done much more. So I think that package, it worked.
Yeah. What did you do for people that don't know in between? So for people that don't know, you did do the qualifying shows for last year's Arnold, and then didn't end up doing the Arnold Classic. So it was kind of like a little bit of a redemption because people, they didn't badmouth you on social media, but they were expecting you, and then no one really knew the real reasons why you didn't compete. You kept them private, so you should. But it was in its own sense a little bit of a redemption because people shit talk either way. But what did you do in between? That was different. Like what did you do to put on that 7-8 kilos of extra body weight?
Yeah. So briefly, obviously, for people that didn't listen to that original episode that we did when I was making the decision to do these Arnolds. So the lead up to the 2018 Arnolds was just a very different approach with everything I did with my diet. I was pretty much dieting on I'd call it like a hybrid kind of paleo type diet because there was still some carbs in there, but I was eating really high fats. Not that there was anything wrong with the approach that I was following from someone else, but it just didn't work for my physique. And I had to accept that. And then getting towards the final stages of the prep, there was a lot of things going on in my personal life which didn't help either. But I still think that whole game plan and situation that I had didn't do my physique any favors. You know, I started getting leaner and leaner, but as I was getting leaner, I was doing too much cardio. I was getting smaller. I was starting to get stringy. And it was a look that just didn't suit my physique. So in that whole lead up now for the 12 months from that show until these Arnolds, it was more the food. Like I put in heaps of carbs. I went up from having like 250 grams of carbs a day, which was like for the other prep, even when I first started, like I was having between 500, 750 grams of carbs. The fats were quite low. The protein was a little bit higher. So I was only eating 100 to 150 grams of protein per meal in 2018. This time I went up a little bit more again to what I used to have at about 250 grams of protein per meal. I mean, I'm saying cooked weight of like a meat.
Not actual protein content,
No, not actual protein, no. A cooked weight meat. So those things and the training, I just went back to the basics again. I went back to my heavy movements. Not going absolutely ridiculous, but just keeping not getting carried away with any machines, really. I did a lot of my exercise just barbells and dumbbells back to what I knew even in 2012 when I had a lot of thickness when I competed against Charlie Duca. That was all to do with a lot of food and a lot of weight. Yeah. So pretty much went back to what I knew my physique liked. And my physique likes to be big and full. I can throw some poundages around, but not stupid, not ridiculous. And I think I just had to go back to what I knew worked.
Yeah. What was your because you did have a proper off season, and a lot of people don't realize also you had a big break. So a few years ago you stopped training for a few months, didn't you?
Well, I always used to stop training after shows, though. That was another thing that I used. Like after a show, I wouldn't train for probably about 8 weeks. I'd take like 2 months off. And really, looking at it now, I thought that I was taking like this big rest and giving my body a break, but I was probably actually doing the opposite. I should have just stayed, kept doing things, kept moving. Obviously, have a little bit of a deload where you're not training as heavy, not pounding in as much protein, all this sort of stuff. Give the body a bit of a rest. But yeah, in the past, I used to take like 8 weeks off.
Yeah, but this time you obviously did things different after your qualifier last year. You had a proper off season. What was your caloric intake in your off season, and how far did it drop during prep?
Not to be honest, I was eating less in the off season because I started working with my mate Aaron at probably roughly around about October. End of September, October, something like that. So leading up to that, I was kind of eating how I was eating before, but just a little bit more carbs. But then when we sat down, had a chat, he's known me for a long time. He's seen my physique, how it's looked every year at all these different shows. I told him my approaches and what I've done. And we just sat down, had a coffee and had a chat. And he kind of just said, look, this is what I think you should be doing. So I think you should be taking in, especially at that time, it would have been about 20 weeks out. He said, you should be eating for someone your size, a lot more calories. He said, we've got to start getting the calories right back up. He goes, I'll take out the cardio, because I was still doing cardio in the off season as well, because I was just in that mindset from that last 2018 prep. I was doing almost 2 hours of cardio a day from like 25 weeks out. So,
yeah,
you know, I was doing a whole heap of cardio. So just having that different approach from Aaron and just telling me, you know, every couple of days I was having like a whole pizza every 2 days as well to get the calories. So I would have been having roughly around about 6,500 calories a day when we started. And then I dieted the whole way up until probably about 2 weeks out. I was still taking in about 5,500 calories, something like that. It was about.
And how many days a week were you training?
Every day. I just took Sunday off this time. Whereas before I was only training like 3 days on, 1 day off. But I felt with the extra food, the recovery was good. And I didn't feel like I was getting burnt out or run down. All I wanted to do was train. Even taking that 1 day off, I was like, fuck, all I want to do is be in the gym training. But I had that 1 day off, and that seemed to work really, really good for me.
Did you, what weight were you?
And there was no...
Go, Jim.
No, so I was just going to say, with the no stress as well, that would have been a burden last prep. So if that was eliminated from your life this prep, then that would play a massive role, and it'd allow you to eat more food more comfortably.
100%.
We all know what cortisol does.
I think no matter the stress or not, I think, because I'm not going to say the stress ruined my whole prep, because it didn't my whole prep, but I would have been a lot smaller version of myself at those 2018 shows no matter what, because of the approach that I was taking. I think I looked even worse on stage though because of what was going on, because the things that really stressed me out only happened not long before I competed. So I think that's what made me look a lot more hold the water and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not going to say that the stress ruined, you know, the whole prep, because that whole approach that I took didn't work for my physique. Because even this prep, like 2 days before my show, my dad had a heart attack. I was in hospital, didn't want to tell me because he didn't want to stress me out or whatever. So there's still always things that we face, like stress-wise, but I'm not going to say that ruined my prep or what happened in 2018 ruined my prep, because it definitely didn't. But 2018, it just contributed to a look that I wasn't happy with. Like it made me look more watery, and then that made me even more stressed, and then, you know, it all goes downhill from there. The main thing is, though, I wouldn't have been happy with how I looked in 2018 no matter what, because I was too downsized. And for me, it makes me look like I've got a thick waist. It makes throws all my proportions off. And yeah, it wasn't a good look for me at all.
So on keeping on this theme of cortisol and that, Jake, so do you have an ideal sort of time, length of time or duration that you like to train each time? Like, you're obviously training 6 days a week. You know, are they long sessions? Are they short? Are you doing 60 minutes? Are they hard? Are they no rest? You know, sort of that type of thing.
Well, I would say I've found that the high volume stuff works really well for me, because before, when I said that my workouts are quite heavy, I don't actually train past failure though. So I train by myself every day. So I would still train like chest. I would probably do maybe 30 sets, 35 sets, something like that. But I don't take all of my working sets to failure. It's more of, it's kind of like a Jay Cutler style approach, where he sort of does his own kind of forced reps where he just rest for a second, push out a couple more rest, but I don't go past failure. So I find that I don't fatigue my tendons and joints training that way. I can just get a really good muscle fatigue that way, but it might take me a little bit longer. So it might take me an hour and a half to 2 hours, Chris, to train like that. But it'll be chest and a little bit of biceps, back a little bit of triceps, and then I'll touch them both up again on arm day. So yeah, I'd say I'm in the gym for 2 hours.
And in relation to, like, you talked about doing the cardio for like 2 hours a day, which I don't know how you did that. It's not for me to sort of, you know, talk about other methods and that, but being a person who's quite happy to walk for 30 minutes in the morning and just sort of stimulate metabolism and eat correctly, what did you do this time in regards to that?
Yeah, so look, I think in the past, the thing with me is, if I've got a coach, whether it was Neil Hill that I've had, whether it's other guys in the past, if they've told me to do hours of cardio a day, I'm the sort of client or a student that'll just say yes to, I'll just do it. If you tell me to eat 10 grams of carbs, 0 carbs, I'll do it. I'll do it for days on end if I have to. I do what I'm told with everything that I do with any coach that's helped me. So the reason why I did a lot of the things that I did was because I was told to do it from people in the past. But this time around, not having the cardio in there and actually just using the cardio as a tool towards the end, my body it loved it. So even when I added in 20 minutes of cardio every second night at I don't know, maybe that was at about 15 weeks out or something like that. We probably did 20 minutes every second night. I got massive changes out of that. I've never done that before. I've always started like hours of cardio at like 20 something weeks out. So being able to get a result out of 20 minutes of cardio every second night, and then obviously we increased that to 20 minutes cardio one night, 20 minutes posing the next night. We did that for a few weeks. 30 minutes cardio, 30 minutes posing. So then every night I was doing some kind of cardiovascular activity. I would call posing cardiovascular. I don't know if you guys would, but you know, I'm drenched in sweat more on posing night than I am on.
If you're doing it properly, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So you know, I was doing kind of, and then I just increase it from there, Chris. I think I was probably doing towards the very end, like literally the very end, maybe the last 4 weeks. I was doing 45 minutes in the morning, 45 minutes at night, cardio. But it was so good to be able to actually use cardio just as a tool and not burn myself out and just feel like a mouse on the wheel like all day long. So I think this prep was more of it opened up my eyes a lot to, I don't know, what a lot of the professionals do, I suppose, too. Like just be a lot smarter with the game plan, not burn yourself out, because like I said, I'm one of those guys, you tell me to do 3 hours of cardio a day, I'll do it. So I think it was a lot smarter and well thought out, this prep. And it was just very stress-free and not taxing on the body at all, really.
Yeah. Now that you're a pro, what weaknesses are you going to work on, if you think you've got any weaknesses, but what weaknesses will you work on leading into your first pro show? And we'll ask you what your plans are a little bit later on, but what are you going to work on this off-season?
Well, look, I think the biggest difference is going to be obviously in like an overall size. I think overall everything has to be a bit bigger. And I think there's going to be a huge change just because I know what happened from those 12 months leading up to the Arnolds in 2018. You know, a lot of things didn't suit my physique. Wasn't eating how I had to eat. So I think now moving forward, I'm going to get some really good changes and I'm going to be able to change things quite quickly once I get back into that mode again, because I just know what works for my body now. I'll be doing something that works really well for me. So. What was your question?
What weaknesses are you going to work on?
Yeah, so I think for sure still the same things, like because I had the hamstring, obviously the calves. So everything on the side shots and the rear shots, I would say still the hamstrings are a lagging point for me. The calves are still a lagging point for me. But in saying that, only since I started working with Aaron as well, since October, I do 2 leg workouts a week now. So one is they both got hamstrings in them, but one actually is just hamstrings and does do a little bit of quads at the end. So I'm doing 2 leg workouts a week now to be able to bring up the hamstring. So I should have done that ages ago. Really, it's not rocket science. I don't know why I didn't. I just thought that I was by me training hamstrings at the start of my leg workouts, which I've done for the last probably 2 years. I thought that would be enough. But still, my quads are growing quicker than my hamstrings. So I've thrown in 2 leg days now, and one of them is pretty much just all hamstring exercises. So that'll help me catch up a little bit there. I think upper lats as well from the front was something that I want to bring up. I was looking at my front double bicep. I think from the back, my back has a fair bit of thickness from the back, from top to bottom isn't too bad. But I think from the front, my front double bicep needs to be brought up like just underneath my armpits. So I'm just trying to do a lot more upper lat type stuff, because I've always been pretty happy with all the rowing movements and things in terms of my back thickness. But I think it's more of a width thing now for me. So they would be the main things, to be honest with you. I think my legs and my upper back.
Yeah. What are your plans now moving forward? So do you have a pro show in mind that you plan on doing like maybe soon, or are you planning on having a big off season and maybe aiming for shows next year? What's the plans?
Look, I think if people say that they're going to have this massive off season and just get ridiculously big, I want to take an off season. I want to have a good off season where I'm staying lean but growing, putting on size. Obviously, I think I'm going to keep it to the point like what I used to do when I was putting on a lot of size. Keep the abs there, not get too sloppy and fat and out of shape, but definitely need to put some overall size on. Even the feedback that I got from people after the show. So I spoke to some of the officials and was just asking what they thought. And again, it was more just a general kind of overall size thing now if I'm going to be jumping on stage in a pro lineup. So I think for me, maybe 9 to 12 months of just chipping away and trying to bring up those weak areas, the hamstrings, things like that with some, you obviously need some extra calories in there to be able to build some lean tissue. So that's going to be what I'm going to be focusing on. And then the pro show will probably be, whether it's like what Josh did, choose a San Marino type thing, or somewhere where I can travel and get to have make an experience out of it as well for me and my partner would be nice. So I haven't thought too far ahead on that just yet, to be honest with you.
Would you want to do the Arnold next year?
Nah, not the Arnold next year. I think that's still going to be a little bit too soon for me.
The Arnold Australia he's talking about?
Yeah, the Arnold Australia.
Yeah, too soon.
Yeah.
I think you're ready for that.
He knew that.
But I think he's ready for it. That's why I'm surprised.
Yeah, well, these are the things that I suppose my mind may change just as I'm sort of going. Because I've only just competed not long ago, the first thing that came through my head was, shit, I'm nowhere near, big enough to compete against a lot of these guys. But when I say nowhere near, I'd like to see probably 3 to 4 kilos on my frame in the right areas.
I personally think you've got the shape to crack a top 6 position in that lineup. Like, I see you next to Wharton and next to Sam Pearce, definitely battling it out.
Yeah,
I don't think
definitely hanging that line.
Yeah, definitely.
Look,
that's not blowing smoke up your ass either.
Nah, look, I think you're definitely being nice with what you're saying. I appreciate the compliment, but I was standing next to Steve when he was getting tanned. I was standing next to Sam a couple of times when he came and said hi, and I still do think I need a little bit more muscle to be able to hang with those guys. Like, they got some next level kind of thickness, and I think even Steve Orton, like, just that thickness that he can bring. When you actually see him in person standing there, it literally just hangs off his bones, the muscle. So I think I'm very happy with my look, the things that you can't change, structure, waist, things like this. I think I'm very lucky in that sense. I think my overall structure and shape is quite pleasing, especially with the way the IFBB seems to be judging these days. But I definitely need about another 3 or 4 kilos on my frame, I would say.
Does your impression of how far you could take your career as a pro change a little bit now after seeing what, say, the likes of Aaron Politis has done in the last 3 weeks? Now, we haven't mentioned Aaron obviously coming second at the Indy Pro on the weekend and looked phenomenal. And he's literally made a dent in that pro scene immediately. Yep. And I think that there in itself would be a little bit of a motivational factor for guys who have just attained their pro card, such as yourself. Is that something that you look at and think, you know what, it's actually possible for me to make a good dent and possibly be on that Olympia stage one day?
I look 100%, but I think too, in saying that, it's just the quality of physiques that we've got in Australia now. Like, I think it really is. The guys just are that good. I think a lot of guys would be looking at our guys now and overseas and thinking, shit, we've got our own little kind of team now. The guys are looking real good. Like Sam Pearce, I thought looked amazing. Steve Orton, we've claimed him as our own, but obviously he looks phenomenal. Aaron with what he's doing. Josh, now I hope with my physique. But answering your question, I think with we've got some really top physiques, and I'm happy to be able to put myself in that category, in that class with a lot of those guys, and be able to compete and get a look in. But I think the look that I can bring in a couple of years' time, I think will be pretty damn good.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on young James Newcomb? Now I left before the overalls, and Chris over here was my man on the phone, keeping me updated as things went in. And when he saw Newcomb come out in the under-90s, he said, wow, he's actually going to push Jake. And then when you actually put them side by side, I think, Chris, you said, no, Jake was a clear winner. The size it was just too good, too strong. But what are your thoughts on Jake? Because on James Newcomb, because he's a young guy, he's an up-and-comer, and I potentially see him as being one of the top 212 pros on the planet.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think going into it, like I said, I treated it like I did the NABBA shows overseas, because those shows were open to any weight, any height, any weight. So I've competed against some shorter freaks before over there and some tall freaks, like you name it. They throw all kinds of physiques in the mix over there in those European shows. So that wasn't something that I wasn't thinking about it too much. But leading up to the show and seeing the package that James brings for what, 20? How old is he? Like 24? Or
23 or 24, mate. Yeah, for sure.
24. Holy shit! Like he was thick as. Like he had some dense, mature looking muscle in his legs. Like his quads were phenomenal. When he turned to the side, his legs were just so thick. It did look like he was like a mini Flex Lewis. I know he probably hates hearing that, and people probably keep saying that to him, but he's got some amazing potential.
Yeah. He does, especially when you look at Flex's photos when he was younger, around the same age. They're
100%. That's why, like, he would be absolutely. I hope he isn't down about anything that he's done competing at his age. Shit, to achieve what he's achieved, and even if you don't win a show, but people are giving you the feedback, like, man, it's only a matter of time. It's not when, but it's not if, but when with him. You can see that a mile away. You don't have to be, you don't have to be that switched on to see that. So he should be, really.
You can't be upset losing the overall to a fucking super heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? So,
I think when you looked at it, right, and that's when I was contacting Mark, when you saw James in the lineup, he was that comprehensive in the under-90s. And this is no disrespect to the other guys. Like, I mean, from the waist down, he blew the doors off everything. Like, he's a pro from the waist down. It's incredible. And he was as good from the top half, but obviously not as ridiculous what it is. And when I looked at it, I thought, well, this is going to be real close, But the one thing that I did say about Jake, and you remember the guys in the shows leading up to it, is that when we talked about, favourites and all this sort of stuff, is that Jake's got the strength, and this is what I hope you don't ever lose sight of, man, is that the weight really isn't the issue with you. Like, I know you want to grow. I'm not saying don't do that, but you have a density and a thickness to what your physique has, and it equates to numbers bigger than what they really are, on paper. And once you two boys got side by side, I mean, look, I no disrespect. Look, I think he'll win the pro card probably this coming October. To be honest, I think that's how soon he probably could win it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think you lost a pose, to be honest, when you did it side by side. I mean, I sat there and really looked at it objectively, and as I said, I rang Gretchen, I went, man, this is going to be fucking close. And then the moment you started posing, I just went, yeah, it's not going to be close here. Like, you really sort of you took control, man, of that overall. And to be honest, you were better the next day than what you were the day before as well, which I'm also, for a big guy, backing it up, playing with water, manipulating a few things. We know that on a big guy that these things can go wrong pretty easily. A little bit of film, like a lot of shit. But you really came in even better the next morning. And I think really it was beyond any doubt by that stage, So,
no, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I think I've probably got 2 kilos string anyway, so that's 4 kilos there.
Fuck my connection.
Yeah, I know. Go, Jimmy. Go, say something. Because every time you talk, you're interrupting. You're talking over someone. What were you saying?
So, my connection was bad. I was just saying, I think going from the super heavyweight lineup as well, Jake was the shortest in that lineup out of the top 4. Yeah. Between Chase...
super heavyweight, what, next to Bobby?
Bobby was not a super heavyweight.
No, you're talking about the overalls.
No. I'm talking about when Jake was in the super heavyweight lineup, he was the shortest. So his physique looked different on stage because he's amongst taller guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Even that he still was bigger, etc., etc. By taking him out of that lineup and moving him to the overall, where he then is now the biggest and the tallest, it would have just made his appearance on stage. Because remember, you still get compared to who you're actually standing next to.
Yeah, 100% right. Because he looked like a giant. He looked like a giant when he was in that overalls.
And, But if you go back to what Chris said about James, in that under 90 lineup, he was the tallest in that lineup.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'm mistaken. But that's why James would have looked super impressive in that lineup as well, because he was the tallest.
Yeah.
So put him next to Jake. He's gonna give you a problem.
Yeah. And I think too, as you guys know, when you see photos of people standing by themselves, like they can look so ridiculous, and then as soon as you put them next to someone or in a lineup, all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you can really start to see people's I wouldn't say flaws, but you can start to pick the physiques apart when they're standing next to someone else. It's very like, and I think, like I said, James Newcomb comparing our physiques. They're just two completely different physiques. But he is scary to see, like what he looks like at his age. Like I think that's what you do have to bring that into the equation. Like the age to look like that. That's ridiculous.
And
like
I just want to say, if you are listening to this, don't take Jimmy's feedback to heart, because he's basically said that you're not going to get anywhere in the pro league until you get a little bit taller. So he's got to work on his height in the off season.
No, he's got that 212 division written all over him.
100%. I wonder how tall he is next to Aaron. They'd probably be roughly around the same height, I'm guessing. Maybe James is a little bit taller.
Yeah, probably just a touch, I'd say. Yeah.
What did you guys think of the super heavyweight lineup in terms of like other IFBB shows you've seen?
Go, Chris. I'll let you answer that.
Mate, it was strong. Look, I'm going to be honest.
After third or fourth, the conditions started to kind of fall a bit.
I think on a level, I don't think you would have got beaten anyway, period. I just would have looked a couple of the other big names to have brought it, big Roscoe, man, like from the front, it's probably one of the prettiest front doubles that this country's got, and when you look at it, but I mean, I'm sure he knows. He just missed the point. He really did. And it would have been nice to see him at his best. As I said to you, man, like I don't think if they all brought it, I don't think you still would have got beat. But I would have liked, with the quality of what was sitting there, if a couple of them got a little bit closer to where they should have been. Because I think your win was comprehensive both ways. But I think you pretty much put the super heavyweights to rest without being disrespectful. You pretty much put it aside. So,
and look, I think leading up to the show, obviously, I was picking apart as many of the guys that I knew as possible. And for me, I thought the way that the IFBB judging seems to be going, the physiques that they're going for, the healthy-looking physiques, the smaller waists, the pleasing lines, Ross was 100% the guy that I knew. If he brought it in at his all-time best, he would have been the biggest issue.
Yeah, look, just saying that there, it was 100% the most competitive super heavyweight lineup we've ever seen in the country. And what you're saying right there, just pretty much solidifies it in saying that Ross, there's not many shows that Ross Maloney will go in a super heavyweight lineup and not win. And he didn't even place top 3. So that there shows the quality of that lineup. And when at registrations, when they told me how many people were actually registered.
No disrespect to any of the other competitors at all, but I'm saying if everyone brings it 100%, I just sit back and I look at all the physiques and I say, let's talk structurally now. If everyone brought it 100%, who would be the biggest problem? And I think it would be Ross.
Yeah, based on his shape alone. But look, obviously the biggest up-and-comer in that lineup for me is Chase Tattersall. He has improved dramatically in a year, and if he makes the same improvements from now up until next year, I see him in that number 1 spot. He's pushing second. He's moving up the ranks slowly, but he's moving up the ranks. He's not doing anything to his body that's pushing him backwards.
Looking at all the pictures now afterwards and seeing Chase's physique, he's got a very pleasing physique.
Yeah. Now, Chris Cavalos, he still, to this day, and this is knocking him back at all, this is just me being brutally honest, he still does not have the most pleasing physique on stage. He still has weaknesses and he doesn't flow, but his sheer size and the condition that he brings pushes him forward a couple of steps, you know what I mean? So we're known for him to be a workhorse and a fucking giant. Like, he's always going to be up there. Now all he needs to do is just fine-tune his body and work on the little parts.
That just goes to show you different physiques, doesn't it? So if a Ross comes in, Chris has to come in 100%, no matter what, every show, he has to come in at 100. That's right. Whereas if Ross was, no disrespect to Chris, but if a body shape like Ross comes in at 100, it's all over.
Yeah, but he's got to come in. That's the thing. Chris will do the hard work.
Have we seen Ross at 100?
Yeah. Well, that's up to you guys to debate, because I haven't seen him on stage really before this, but there was definitely, he could have cranked a little bit more out of himself, and he would have been a big threat.
Well, he pushed for his pro card when Nathan James Williamson won it that year. He was very, very close to beating Nathan.
that's probably the one that I've seen on YouTube, and it looked like Ross was really good.
Yeah, man, he was close, and if he brought that same conditioning, he would have placed as high as second. I didn't see anyone beating you that day, but he would have placed as high as second. Yeah.
No, but look, as you guys know too, that's bodybuilding. At the end of the day, it's not bashing on anybody or saying they can't get in shape, because we've seen it. But even the top guys, sometimes they're in shape, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, like even say for instance Chris Cavalos, like he probably doesn't need to work on getting ridiculously big now. He just needs to work on fine tuning his shape to bring a more pleasing physique. Like, and that's what I would be doing if I was Chris Cavalos. He's big enough. He doesn't need to get any bigger. He just needs to fine tune his physique. We know he can come in condition. Chase Tattersall just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and if he keeps growing, he's gonna. Chris, you look like you're thinking hard. You want to say something?
I was going to say that's the beauty of our sport, because like we've all competed, we've all done many shows, and mate, I know I've won shows where I thought I was shit, and I mean it. I stand by it. Like I've won shows where I believe I was at 85%, and that's no disrespect. I got away with it. That's what the answer to that is. I was just good enough on that day because no one was good enough to get round me.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's good.
And it's about shutting the door. And I say this to my athletes, it's about shutting the door on the people behind you. If you do the best you can do and you close the door, you don't allow anyone to get through it. But if you leave the door open, then someone's going to sneak through it. Now, Ross, with the physique that he's got, he will win shows at 90%. He absolutely will. You know, Ross rocks up at 95 to 100. He's going to win 9 times out of 10 than he does. But the moral of the story is that we've all won shows when we haven't been our best, and we've all been beaten when we have been pretty good too. Yeah. And that's why this whole thing, people should never take it to heart, and should always take it with a grain of salt. Because you look at the pro lineups, man, they don't piss and moan, man. Like one week, fucking one of them wins, the next week he comes ninth. You know what I mean? It just tells you what it is. You know, if they miss the mark, then there's a half a dozen people that will get around you, and that's what happens at an elite level. You know?
Yeah. That's 100% right. Yeah.
Well said, Chris. Because I think a lot of people put so much pressure on themselves, like, oh, you know, they're pros, this, that, and the other, but they might be seventh one show, then the next show they come in there in the top 3, or they're winning it. You know, it's just so it's so up and down. You know, but that just goes to show you how competitive it is.
Yeah, that's right. What was the reaction from your family and your partner and everyone after you walked away with the win?
Everyone was over the moon, man. Like, because so many people, even the guys in the factory too, there's like 24 guys that I look after in the factory as well. Everyone's seen all the Tupperware containers, all the meal prepping, and me feeling like shit, me being grumpy prick sometimes.
Can I just ask, are the 25 guys that work in the factory all Filipino little guys, and they're all chanting and they're all happy when you walk out?
That's a good image in my head. That would have been nice.
Hey, bodybuilder! No, it's not a sweat factory.
That's fucking borderline racist.
Borderline? It's fucking blatantly racist.
He's just saying that Filipinos are happy people, that's all.
That's it, yeah. No, but how was every else?
Mark, it was like, I think so many people have seen the journey from when I started, 10 years ago, 15 years ago training. I always had that goal that I loved training. Even when I used to go to parties back in the day, even when I was like 17, people would be giving me drinks, but I'd have protein bars in my pockets and I'd be tipping the drinks out behind my back, just, pretending that I was drinking or getting drunk, because I always just liked, I always enjoyed being in the gym and training. So I think so many people have been a part of that journey over all of these years. So it was very emotional for everybody. And I think that's what made it so much more enjoyable. I didn't sleep for like 3 days because so many people, I was on such a buzz just from the connection that so many people have with me, and they know what I've sacrificed and what I've done to get to where I am. So I think that's what made it so worthwhile. And I think the timing was good for me. I think if I would have got my pro card at I wouldn't say a lower level show, but if I didn't get it at the Arnolds, I don't think it would have meant as much to me. Like, I think the timing was perfect. Competing on that stage for me, first time doing the Arnolds, I went straight kind of into the deep end there in terms of the Australian competitors, because no one's really seen me on a big stage for such a long time. So it was massive, man. My family and everyone's just absolutely over the moon, just wrapped for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. What did it feel like?
And what was it like meeting Arnold?
He just told my question. Interrupted. Just stole my fucking question.
What was it?
You want to repeat yourself, dummy?
Connection, eh?
You have a shit connection. That's where you're at your grandmother's house.
It's fucking shit. I don't know why. I'm on Wi-Fi too. I said, what was it like meeting Arnold, Mark's best mate?
Oh, really? It was actually really good. I tried to make as most of the time the short time that I knew that he would have had on stage. So as soon as he came over and shook my hand, I think the first thing I said to him, obviously it's a pleasure to meet him, but I told him that the first show that I won overseas was the junior Mr. Universe in Germany, which was like in his hometown in 2006. And look, Arnold's Arnold. He was just like, oh, very nice. Now you're to pose. He didn't care, but I just tried to hold him there for sort of as long as I could, so that that I could just enjoy the moment for a little bit. But it was very surreal, and I think even just having some of the photos that have been sent to me, I haven't got any of the professional ones of me and Arnold on stage yet. But you guys have obviously seen. I think you've posted it, Mark, the selfie photo of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like things like that. Like that's, for me, that's the most epic memory of this whole journey. Like I'm going to get that printed, put it up in the gym, and look at that while I'm training every day. And that's just going to be the best thing ever for me. And I think getting a pro card is one thing, but being able to meet Arnold, who's been not only a childhood hero, obviously all the movies, all of his success, what he's done. Like what guy wouldn't think that Arnie is a legend, you know?
Yeah. I love the fact that I'm spewing that he didn't have an interview with you on stage. I would have loved to have heard you because I think he was running out of time. I got told he didn't have that interview. Yeah,
no, I got told by one of his security guys too that he is lucky that he even made it to the stage. Apparently, like sometimes if he's running late or whatever, he just kind of does his own thing.
Yeah, well, he's always gotten there every single year. He's gotten there, but he normally has an interview with whoever a winner. So it's a shame that he didn't get that. But you would have,
that would have been good. That would have been. I was looking forward to that actually if he did do an interview, but. You know what? The photo tells a million stories for me, so I'm happy just to be able to have that memory now forever, and that's it.
Now, we won't keep you too much longer, but are you having a little bit of a break from your training? Like I know, obviously, you said before that you used to have your 2 months off, and you're not doing that. But are you going to get away just to switch the brain off a little bit and get back to reality, or you just basically gone back to work, gone back to training, and this is you for now?
To be honest, I think this has just kind of sparked more. In my head, winning that show has more just kind of let me tell myself that I'm kind of worthy enough now. And I think that that's kind of motivated me a hell of a lot more than I ever imagined it would. Because I think, you know, all of the training and everything that you do, sometimes if it was to end up being a disappointment, like for me, not winning would have been a disappointment. Like I obviously went into the show to win the show. Of course, I would have gone back. But I think knowing that you're worthy of winning and getting the feedback from everybody and looking at the photos, that's just motivated me beyond belief, man. So I've just gone back into the gym now. All I want to do is bring up the weak areas. Body feels good. Everything feels good. And it's just back to the normal days for me. I'm back at work full time again now because I brought my hours down towards the end only because working in a factory with all those machines and all the guys looking after them,
and all those Filipinos. Paying them $2 an hour.
To be honest, man, motivation is at an all-time high. It's just gone through the roof since now winning that, and just thinking that okay, now next time I'll be on stage, I can be on stage at pro events, and that's motivation enough right there.
Do you have sponsors, or have you had anyone approach you for potential sponsorship now that you've won your pro card?
I've had a couple, but it's not. I had sponsors for about 7 years when I had all the big contracts back in the day, but I just think the industry's just changed so much from back then when I had all those sponsors. I don't think really all those big cash contracts and stuff. I think that's a thing of the past. I've been offered a couple of good contracts already, but again, it comes with a lot of travel. It comes with a lot of downtime. It comes with a lot of. I think my life and where I'm at in life now has just changed. I don't think that's really. I can't really entertain it as much as I used to in terms of being able to have so much time away from work and traveling.
Don't see it as much of a necessity now to get you by.
No, well, not with look. Well, the way the business is going, everything is good. The way that I'm set up, I can still train by myself, and then I'm in the business for the rest of the day. So I think for what I'm doing and what I want to achieve, I think the lifestyle that I'm leading now is perfect, man. I don't think I really need to be traveling around. Look, if we didn't have the family business and I wasn't doing the hours that I was there, then yeah, I'd have to be, traveling, doing guest appearances, I was probably still running my gym, PTing people. But at the moment, I'm very happy with, I'm very lucky to be able to live the life that I live.
Yeah, no,
That's
good
awesome.
on you, mate. Good on you. Boys, do you have any more questions?
I think we've covered them. We've covered a lot.
Married with First Sighters on. It's like 2 more episodes to go, and I know Chris is dying to watch it. Like, I keep seeing his
I
head
can't
turn.
wait.
I
Can't wait for that to finish.
Sort of pizzas you were eating.
How about if I ask you guys a question about what you asked me before, Mark, about what you thought that I had to bring up in my physique? What do you guys think?
I'll let you go first, Chris.
Well, mate, I don't think you have very many weaknesses. I just think that I'm maturing, and also now it seems uncanny that once an athlete turns pro, something changes in their mind. We've seen it with Sam, Aaron, seen it with Steve. Everything goes up a gear, and whether it's just that bit of mental mindset, which you can see by the way you're talking, man, you can see it already. Yeah. I think probably that will be enough, man. I think the physique will mature. I think you'll find that even if I'm not saying you would, but even if you come in at 106 kilos in 12 months' time, it's going to be a very, very different 106 kilos. Yeah. It's really uncanny how these things happen. Man, as I said to you, I think don't lose sight of your strengths. If I can say something to you, that's it. And your strength is visually, 3-dimensionally. You have something that people can't buy and people can't train for. It's something that happens, through hard work, but also it's a genetic thing as well. You're very, very dense. And I remember seeing you as a kid, honestly, coming up and doing the Southern Hemispheres and the coast, and I couldn't comprehend, even back then, the thickness that you had in your arms for someone the age you had. Yeah. It's something you always seem to have had. And if you look at your best photos, man, those ones from the Worlds and that, those back biceps and that, there's a density to all of those photos and that look that you have that's unique to you. And I reckon, man, stick to Jake, stick to that, and just fine-tune that, and man, you'll be deadly. You really will.
Yeah, I was basically saying exactly what Chris just said, like literally to a T. Yeah. The whole stick to Jake thing too. Like it's like he stole that from you. Like he read my mind. Nah, look, I've always loved your physique. I thought the big barreling chest, the big arms. You have a very pleasing physique. You could have been maybe slightly harder. Yeah. Are you grainy like a Steve Orton type conditioning on stage? I think will be unstoppable. I reckon your shape and everything like that. I think the second you make your pro debut and you bring, I'm going to use Steve Orton as an example because he really brings that grainy, freaky conditioning. If your shape, your physique, your size, that conditioning, I see, major damage happening, and you'll be talked about for a very long time after your very first pro appearance, in my opinion. Yeah. Jimmy, you got any feedback for him before you can talk about pizzas?
If it's not broke, don't fix it. Whatever you've done over the last 12 months, keep doing it. I think you just gradually change little things, like you spoke about with the leg training, et cetera, just to make what you're doing better. But there's no need to overhaul anything just because you're a pro. It's only a piece of cardboard with a signature. Yeah,
no, you're right. And I think that's like what Chris said. I think I was going down the right track when I changed everything to go back to doing what works best for me. And I think maybe some guys make the mistake when they turn pro and think, okay, I've just got to get so ridiculously big now. But that's never been my strength, being like a mass monster in a sense. Like Chris said, my weight is not really what people think that it is, but I can bring a kind of like thickness to it. So I just need to bring what I've been doing, but just more matured.
That's right. Exactly right. Is there anyone you want to thank before we wrap up?
Oh, well, definitely Aaron. Like I said, Aaron came on the scene roughly around, I've known him for ages, but we only sat down really in October and spoke about things that I should do to change my physique to be able to win a show or be a contender for the Arnolds.
Is he going to start calling himself a doctor now that you got your pro card?
I knew I walked straight into that one, didn't I?
Oh, not really. I wasn't saving it or anything.
And then obviously my partner Stacey, she's been there throughout the whole thing, and I think that really builds. And that as well, like you were talking about before, like what's the motivation and stuff. Like I think in a whole, just where my life's at the moment, the support structure, and just to have my partner support me the way that she does, that in itself is just, it's my motivation's at an all-time high. She wants to see me do well. She wants to see the best in me. She's helped me with all my food, obviously, all that kind of stuff leading into the show. So she would be it'd be Aaron, Stacey, and of course my family. You know, they've been there the whole time. They've supported me. There's been days from work where, you know, I've been feeling like crap and mum or dad would fill in for me. And like I said, it's not easy. We're running a sheet metal company that next day turnaround to all the plumbing supplies, all their roofing goods and things. There's 25 guys on the factory floor. So, you know, there's a hell of a lot going on all the time. So my parents have been able to be supportive, and just, I think having just that team of people around me all the time, it's just made the whole thing not only possible, but just worthwhile.
Yeah. How is your dad holding up after the heart attack?
Yeah, look, I think obviously he just needs to try to slow down a little bit. He's your typical Greek, older Greek male that just is indestructible and can walk through walls, you know. So I think he just needs to try to just slow down, because even now that he's out of hospital, but I think he needs to realise that even though they put the stents in, like he's got 2 stents in, he didn't have to get open heart surgery or anything, but you still need to go easy. Just because they've done that doesn't mean that that's it, you're fixed and you can just go back to how you were. So I think it's going to be a bit of an adjustment for him just to slow down, because obviously work was a very high stressful environment as well, and he's just coming back to work now. So I think just lifestyle change and stuff, he's going to have to, a little bit of getting used to for him, for sure.
All the best for your old man too. Yeah, obviously a big support. Thanks. Yeah, so before we wrap up, Jimmy, do you want to take your hat off?
Why?
No, everyone wants to see the new haircut. That's why.
Oh, it's not new. I do this all the time.
What about you, Mark?
Oh, I've got the Jimmy haircut. You're starting to lose it a little bit. Yours is starting to go a little bit thin there.
It's not the hairline.
What do you want to know, Jimmy?
Take your hat off. Take your hat off. Put your camera up a little bit. I want to know how you get your head so shiny.
The light is right on top of the fucking
No,
head. Your head,
it's not the light.
Look at how shiny your head is right now.
No, that's not that shiny.
Do you moisturise the top of your head?
Can you go and get that fucking dick cut out of your forehead?
You can't even see it. It's
you can see it, mate.
You'll see the scar when we're at the fitness expo. All right, look, Jakey, thank you very much for coming on. Congratulations once again from all of us. We're very, very happy to see another good human win their pro card. You're going to be a good ambassador for the sport. You'll be another one up there, or the likes of Justin Wessels, Josh, Sam Pearce. Aaron's doing well now. So, look, we've got a really
good little crop there, yeah.
Yeah, we've got a strong, like, even Aaron. Aaron's conducting himself a lot more professionally these days, and he's got himself a following and really doing well out there with his social media. And Josh, the same. Josh has a few big things happening this year. So, look, it's great to see just good blokes doing well and motivating so many people in our country. So, it's good to see, mate. And I honestly hope you do the Arnolds next year. I think I think you will do it. Or like, we'll go back and watch this episode in a year's time from now and talk about how you just placed top 5 at the Arnold Classic Australia, guaranteed.
No, I do appreciate everything, guys. Everything you guys have done the feed leading up to the show as well, helping out, getting exposure, getting it all out there. It's been, I think Australian bodybuilding is really exciting at the moment. I think just a lot of support, even the forums and stuff. There's just, I don't know, it's getting a lot of good vibes from Aussie bodybuilding.
Yeah. Jimmy, you wanted to say something to take the piss before we wrapped up? I'll put this hat on and say you don't just save the glare.
No. I was going to say, if you do decide to do the Arnold's, Jake, next year, Mark will fly you down to his show to guest pose, bring you down business class, put you up in a suite, all expenses paid. He'll probably pay you a fee as well.
No one is
Actually,
better.
He'll give you 5K. He'll give you 5K.
No one is better at spending it on mates.
I've just broken your deal. Give me 10%. I'm good.
We'll sort something out, Jakey. All right, guys. Look, to everyone watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe down below. And anyone that listens to it on iTunes or SoundCloud, thanks for listening. Jakey, congratulations and thank you once again for coming on. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. We'll keep you as a regular because always good. It's got some good stuff to talk about. But thanks a lot, guys. Good night, and we'll catch us all later. See you.
Bye-bye.